What happens when the man who owns 17 luxury beach resorts pretends to be a janitor at one of his own locations? Zane Jefferson stood barefoot on the deck of his private boat, staring out at the shoreline of the Sandbay Beach Resort, the 12th resort in his late father's collection. The view was perfect sunset over the ocean, calm breeze, palm trees swaying, but the numbers on his desk back home weren't. Guest satisfaction scores had dropped by nearly 30% at Sandbay over the last year. Bookings were down, refund requests were up. Corporate kept forwarding vague reports, mostly blaming seasonal dips and weather-related factors. But Zane wasn't buying it. "I need to see it for myself," he muttered. He hadn't visited Sandbay since he was a teenager. His father used to bring him here on weekends, always telling him, "You take care of the people take care of the place." That line stuck. But lately, Zane felt like he was losing touch with the heart of the business. Running 17 locations from a top-floor office in Miami had its limits. So he had a plan: ditch the suit, grow out the beard a little, and go in as Jason, a new seasonal janitor. He worked with HR to get placed at Sandbay through a third-party staffing agency the resort used for temporary hires. No one at this location had ever met him in person. Corporate structures made it easy for people to never meet the man at the top. 2 days later, Jason stepped off a shuttle bus with a duffel bag on his back, wearing a faded blue polo and khakis. A thin woman with sunburned shoulders and a clipboard walked up to him. "You the new janitor?" "Yes, ma'am. Jason just got assigned." "All right, follow me. I'm Abby." "I'll show you where to stash your stuff." She was direct, no nonsense. As they walked past the resort's grand entrance, Zane noticed a couple arguing with the front desk agent. He caught the end of the conversation. "We've reported this 3 times. Our AC still doesn't work," the woman snapped. The front desk agent looked helpless. "I sent a ticket to maintenance, but let me speak to your manager," the man demanded. Before anything else could happen, a tall man in a crisp white shirt breezed over. "Hi, I'm Manager Trevor," he said, not even looking at the couple. "We're at full capacity and short-staffed. If the unit isn't working, I suggest you enjoy the beach breeze." Zane stopped walking. The woman blinked, stunned. "Are you serious?" Trevor turned away without answering. Zane clenched his jaw. Abby looked over her shoulder. "Keep moving, Jason. You'll see worse." That night, Zane got his first shift cleaning the main pool area. The locker rooms were trashed wet towels, empty bottles, clogged toilets. As he scrubbed, he heard people talking outside. "We had to wait 2 hours for lunch today." 2 hours, someone said. "They told us the kitchen was backed up, but I saw 4 servers just standing around. It's like no one cares." The next morning, Zane reported for his second shift early. He found a younger guy, maybe 22, already mopping the walkway. "Hey man," Zane said. "Early shift?" "Yeah," the guy said with a tired smile. "I'm Ty, I cover pool and guest deck. You're new." "Jason, janitor." "Cool, just a heads up, don't expect help from management. They don't lift a finger unless a VIP walks in." Zane nodded. "You like working here?" Ty hesitated. "I love the beach, love talking to guests, but yeah, it's been rough. Place used to be better." Later that day, while sweeping sand off the main lobby floor, Zane watched a housekeeper named Alina get chewed out by Trevor in plain view of guests. "You missed room 206 again," Trevor barked. Alina looked tired, holding a cart of clean linens. "Sir, I told you 2 of my coworkers called out. I've been covering 3 floors. Not my problem. Get it done." Zane stepped in. "Hey, she's clearly doing her best." Trevor snapped his head toward him. "You're a janitor. Don't talk to me about my staff." Zane backed off, hiding the boiling inside his chest. That night, he sat on the edge of his cot in the staff dorms, wiping sweat from his face. He stared at the calluses forming on his palms from scrubbing pool tiles. He hadn't realized how far things had slipped. And he wasn't sure how much more he could watch before stepping in. But first, he needed to see more. Zane's 3rd day started before sunrise. The air was thick with humidity, and the corridors near the maintenance wing smelled faintly of mildew. He grabbed a mop and filled a bucket near the staff laundry area, where the floor was already slick from a leak dripping steadily from the ceiling. No sign had been posted. A housekeeper slipped and caught herself on the wall as she passed. "Careful," Zane said. She gave a tired nod and kept walking, By 6:30, guests were already filtering into the lobby, many dragging luggage toward the exit. One stopped to ask where shuttle pickups were. Zane pointed him in the right direction and was surprised when the man paused. "Thanks. You're the first person here who's actually helped." Zane didn't respond. He just turned back toward the mop and kept working. That morning, he was reassigned to the guest breakfast patio. His new supervisor was a man named Ellis, who oversaw food service logistics. Ellis was thin, older, mid-50s maybe, with a permanent frown and a clipboard that looked like it hadn't been updated since last summer. "Keep the tables wiped and the trash bins under control. Don't touch anything on the buffet. If something spills, call me first." "Got it," Zane nodded. The breakfast area was chaotic. Guests circled the buffet with empty plates, some waiting near the waffle station for 15 minutes without assistance. A teenage server with pink streaks in her hair rushed between tables, clearly overwhelmed. She dropped a tray of glasses near the juice dispensers and froze, eyes wide. Ellis shot her a glare. "You break that glass, you're paying for it. It slipped. I don't argue, clean it up and stop fidgeting." Zane grabbed a dustpan and helped her sweep up the shards. She whispered, "Thanks," and moved on without looking up again. Later, Zane followed Ellis into the staff kitchen to return some empty trays. The kitchen was sweltering. Two line cooks worked in silence, sweat dripping down their arms, while a third leaned against the wall, scrolling through his phone. A dishwasher shouted for backup, but no one moved. Zane turned to Ellis. "Should someone help him?" Ellis didn't look up from his clipboard. "He always complains." "Just ignore it." As Zane left the kitchen, he passed a manager's office left partially open. Inside, two supervisors laughed over a spreadsheet on a laptop. One of them, a short man with a sunburnt neck, said, "Another 5-star guest downgraded their rating." "That's 5 this week." The other laughed. "Good, maybe now corporate will finally stop sending us those fake motivational quotes." Zane kept walking. Around noon, a new housekeeping cart appeared near the service elevator. As he passed, he saw Elena again, her face flushed. She was pushing 2 carts at once. "Need help?" Zane asked. She gave a weak smile. "If you've got 5 minutes, I'll take it." Together, they moved sheets and towels into the staff closet. She leaned against the wall afterward, catching her breath. "I filed a request for another person on my floor over a month ago," she said. "No response. I'm doing 20 rooms a day alone." Zane nodded. "Anyone ever follow up?" "Only Trevor. He told me if I can't handle it, I should look for something easier." Zane's hands clenched around the mop handle. He kept his voice steady. "How long have you been here?" 3 years. I used to love it. Now I just count the days." After his shift, Zane sat on the back steps behind the loading dock, eating a sandwich from the vending machine. Ty showed up, dropping into the spot next to him. "You look beat," Ty said. "I feel it." Ty took a long drink from a plastic bottle. "You ever see how management treats the kitchen staff?" Zane nodded slightly. "They act like people are disposable. If someone quits, they just patch the schedule and expect the rest of us to pick it up. No extra pay, no extra time, just deal with it." "What about HR?" Zane asked. Ty laughed once. "You mean Natalie? She's Trevor's cousin. They do yoga together. She doesn't file anything unless it makes them look good." Zane leaned back against the wall. "Why stay?" Ty shrugged. "I was hoping things would get better. I've got a little sister I help support. I can't risk a gap in pay." Zane didn't speak. He just stared at the rows of dumpsters, the rusted edges, the overflowing bins. The next morning, a storm rolled in. Guests huddled in the lobby as rain slammed the tall glass windows. A pipe burst somewhere near the gym, flooding part of the hallway. Zane was sent with 2 other janitorial staff to handle it. As they worked, Trevor showed up, dry and irritated. "If this isn't cleaned in the next 15 minutes, I'm writing all 3 of you up." One of the workers, a woman named Deja, snapped. "You can't keep threatening us every time something breaks. We're soaked and the tools we've got don't even work right." "Then maybe you're not cut out for this job." Deja threw down her mop. "I'm done." She walked away, shoes squelching with every step. Trevor didn't even watch her go. Zane stared at him. "You just lost one of the only people actually doing the work." Trevor turned. "I don't remember asking for your opinion." Zane stepped forward. "And I don't remember hiring people who treat their team like trash." Trevor's eyes narrowed. What did you just say? Zane reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded ID badge. He flipped it around, the name read, Zane Jefferson. Owner, Jefferson Coastal Properties. For the first time, Trevor didn't have anything to say. Zane's voice didn't rise. You've got 10 minutes to pack your things and leave the property. You're fired. Trevor looked from Zane to the soaked hallway, then turned and walked away without a word. Zane looked at the other janitor, a middle-aged man with a limp. You all right? He gave a nod, surprised. Zane turned back to the hallway and picked up the mop Deja had left behind. Let's finish this. Then we're going to talk about how we fix everything that's broken around here. The man didn't ask questions. He just started wringing out the mop head. Later that afternoon, Zane gathered the staff in the main lounge, a room that hadn't been used for anything but storage in years. He stood in front of 20 exhausted, skeptical faces. I've watched some of the hardest working people in this building get ignored, disrespected, and pushed past their limits. That ends today. The room was silent. I'm not here to play the hero. I should have been paying closer attention. But I'm here now and I'm not leaving until it's fixed. Someone in the back crossed their arms. Words are easy. What's different this time? Zane nodded. Fair question. First, Trevor's gone. Second, I'm not leaving this property for the next 2 weeks. I'm working the floor with you, and I'm meeting with every department lead. Third, I'm bringing in an external HR investigator to review every complaint filed in the last year. Heads turned. Starting tomorrow, Zane continued, we'll be rotating breaks for the kitchen team to keep people from collapsing in the heat. Housekeeping schedules will be cut to a manageable load, even if we have to close off rooms to make that happen. And if anyone's got a problem with that, they can come talk to me directly. He paused. If you've got questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll see you at 7 tomorrow morning. People slowly began to stand. A few nodded. 1 or 2 smiled faintly. Zane didn't relax. He knew earning trust would take more than a speech. But for the first time in a long time, the room didn't feel defeated. It felt ready. Rain still fell in sheets the next morning, streaking down the tall windows of the staff lounge. The storm hadn't let up overnight, and guests were already crowding the indoor spaces. Zane arrived before sunrise, dressed in the same uniform as the others, his badge now clipped plainly to his shirt. No speech. No ceremony. Just a nod to those who trickled in and a clipboard under his arm. He spent the first hour shadowing the front desk team. Most of them were young, clearly stressed, and trying to keep their composure as guests grew impatient. The phones rang nonstop. A child screamed somewhere in the lobby. Why is the elevator still down? A woman demanded as she leaned across the counter. We're on the 5th floor. My mother uses a walker. The front desk agent, whose name tag read Marissa, looked up from her screen. I've submitted the request twice. Engineering said they're waiting on a part. The woman huffed and walked off. Zane stepped closer. How long's the elevator been out? Marissa didn't look up. 4 days. He looked toward the hallway. You've got elderly guests climbing stairs. Some of them have been asking for help moving bags. We're told to do what we can, that's it. Zane jotted something down. Did anyone tell you when the part would arrive? Her hands paused on the keyboard. We don't get updates. Trevor handled all that. Zane nodded once. I'll follow up. He crossed the lobby and ducked into the back office where Ellis was already seated, going over staffing sheets. The spreadsheets were open, but the numbers were a mess, columns misaligned, shifts overlapping, no clear notes on absences or overtime. Zane pulled up a chair. Who's managing maintenance requests now? Ellis didn't look away from the screen. I've been forwarding them to the regional contractor we use. They've been slow lately. When did you last call them? Ellis exhaled through his nose. Last week, maybe. Zane turned the laptop toward himself. You didn't log it. I don't write down every call. I'm not a secretary. Zane stood up. You're not a manager either. Clear your things. Ellis blinked, then scoffed. You're serious. Zane didn't repeat himself. He left the room without waiting for a response. By mid-morning, he made his way to the staff kitchen, where he found Ty loading crates of bottled water onto a cart. Can I borrow you for 10 minutes? Ty wiped his hands on his apron. Sure. They stepped into the hallway, away from the clatter of pans and the low hum of the fridges. I need someone who knows the day-to-day. Not just routines, how things actually work. Who pulls double shifts, who skips breaks, who makes this place run? Ty crossed his arms, uncertain. I'm not asking you to rat anyone out, Zane added. I'm asking who deserves better. Ty looked him in the eye. You're really staying down here. For now, no cameras, no press, just work. Ty gave a slow nod. All right, Alina. She's been covering almost twice the room since 2 girls quit last month, never once complained. Deja, she walked because no one defended her. She was one of the few who stayed late without being asked. Zane nodded. Anyone else? Marissa up front. She's been dealing with double bookings and overcharges while Trevor ignored emails. She's the only one who even tries to fix things. Zane made a note. Thanks. As they walked back toward the kitchen, Zane paused at the hallway that led to the service elevator. A cart sat abandoned near the doors, sheets half stacked. He followed the trail to the nearby laundry room and found a woman in her 40s sitting on an overturned crate, breathing heavily. He stepped in carefully. You all right? She looked up, startled. Didn't hear you come in, just needed a minute. You work laundry. I do now. Used to be housekeeping. They moved me here after the last supervisor said I was too slow on room turnover. Zane crouched near her. What's your name? Carmen. You've been trained for laundry. She gave a tired laugh. No. Just told to keep the machines full and folded. He stood and scanned the room. One washer was blinking an error message. Another door hung open mid-cycle. There were no posted instructions, no maintenance tags. You've had issues with the machines? Every day, one of them floods. I told Ellis, but he said to just use the others. Zane nodded. You're not too slow, you're working without a system. She looked up at him again, wary. You're really the owner, he nodded. She exhaled. Then you should know this place didn't used to feel like this. Zane didn't respond. He just placed a hand on the edge of a cart and gave it a gentle push, watching it wobble on a loose wheel. Later that day, he called a meeting in the same staff lounge, but with only one department at a time. First, the front desk, then housekeeping, then kitchen. Each session no more than 15 minutes. He didn't give speeches, he asked questions. What's one thing that slows you down every shift? What's broken that no one's fixed? What would make your job easier tomorrow, not next year? Answers came faster than he could write. No working printer for guest receipts, no ice machine on the second floor, no clear emergency protocol during power outages. He didn't promise miracles. But by 5 o'clock, he had a list he could work from. He spent the evening in the operations office, contacting vendors, reviewing contracts, and flagging anything that hadn't been fulfilled. 3 maintenance requests were still open from over a month ago. One vendor had been overcharging for linen service by nearly 30%. At midnight, he left a voicemail for the corporate procurement team. We're terminating the contract with Coral Bay Laundry. Find a replacement by week's end. I want walkthroughs scheduled at Sandbay within 48 hours. The next morning, he arrived early again, this time with an industrial coffee maker under one arm. He set it up in the staff break room, along with a stack of clean mugs and a container of ground beans. When Alina walked in, her eyes widened. Where'd this come from? He poured 2 cups. I figured it was faster than waiting on corporate. She laughed, the first genuine sound he'd heard from her. Around mid-morning, he found Marissa reorganizing the front desk drawers, sorting guest keys and check-in forms. You always come in this early, he asked. If I don't, no one else restocks the forms. Last week, people got checked into the wrong rooms. He pointed toward the wall. You know you've got 4 different versions of the check-in summary, she nodded. Corporate kept sending updates. No one said which one to use. Zane tapped the papers. We'll fix that. You're the new lead for front desk ops. You'll get a raise. And a say in what systems we keep. Marissa blinked. What about Natalie? She's being reviewed. Until then, I want someone in place who actually works the desk. By the afternoon, word had spread. Staff members approached him quietly throughout the day, some to thank him, others to give suggestions. He listened to all of them. Ty passed him near the pool deck. You really fired Ellis, Zane nodded. Good. He used to tell the kitchen team we were lucky to have easy jobs. Zane looked out at the pool, where a group of guests laughed under umbrellas despite the lingering clouds. I didn't build this place. My father did, but I'll be damned if I let it fall apart under my name, Ty grinned. Then I guess we're just getting warmed up. By the end of the 5th day, Zane's phone buzzed with a calendar full of backlogged meetings, vendor calls, and legal reviews. He silenced it and walked through the second-floor hallway, clipboard in hand, the soles of his shoes scuffing faintly against the tile. The elevator was still down, but the replacement part had arrived and the technician was on site. He'd made sure of it personally. Marissa passed him carrying a folder of updated check-in forms. She didn't break pace but nodded once, her expression focused. Zane stopped outside the staff dormitories, where Ty had said most of the overnight crew took their rest. He knocked on one of the side doors and stepped in. The common area was quiet, the lights dimmed. Elena sat on the worn couch, her feet up on a milk crate, a bag of frozen peas balanced across her knee. There was a faint bruise forming along her shin. "What happened?" he asked, stepping closer. She looked up, caught the corner of the linen cart. "Wheel jammed. Happens." Zane crouched beside her. "Have you seen a doctor?" She shook her head. "Don't have time. Rooms still need flipping." "You're not working until you get checked out. I'll have someone drive you." Her eyebrows lifted. "Who's left to cover?" "I'm not giving that responsibility back to anyone who let this become normal." She didn't argue, just leaned her head back and closed her eyes. Zane stood and walked out. He passed through the restaurant wing, where the lunch rush was just ending. The dining area was half full, and the kitchen looked cleaner than it had 2 days earlier. Still loud, still hot, but more organized. 2 new temp staffers had arrived that morning, sourced through an emergency contract he'd pushed through, and they were being trained at the prep station. Outside, the clouds had thinned, and scattered guests were returning to the beach. He walked across the boardwalk, past the pool deck where the broken tiles had been cordoned off with bright orange tape, another repair scheduled for the week. Ty was at the towel kiosk, folding in rhythm. He gave a quick glance. "You've been keeping up?" Zane asked. "Doing what I can," Ty replied. "Nobody's yelled at me today, so that's new." Zane nodded. "We're rotating you into the morning crew next week. Less heat, more visibility. I want you helping train new hires." Ty hesitated. "You sure? You've got instincts I trust. That's good enough for me." Back inside, Zane walked into the HR office. Natalie sat at the desk, typing slowly. A new audit report sat unopened beside her keyboard. She didn't look up when he entered. "Got a minute?" Zane asked. "I'm working through the staff files you requested." He waited. Natalie leaned back. "Look, I've been doing this for years. I know how to handle complaints. You've been ignoring them." She blinked, confused. "I pulled the logs," Zane said. "Dozens of reports filed, no follow-up, no notes." Employees were asking for basic things: shift clarity, time-off response, harassment reviews. Nothing happened. "I had to prioritize," she said. "We were short-staffed. You prioritized your connections. You never once escalated serious issues." "I'm not giving you a second chance." Her mouth opened, but no words came. "You're terminated effective immediately. Your access will be revoked within the hour." He left before she could respond. Down the hallway, he passed maintenance, where the elevator tech was packing up his tools. The elevator doors were finally closing smoothly. Zane thanked him, then stepped into the now functioning lift and rode it to the top floor. The penthouse suite had been closed off for months, too expensive to keep booked during low season. Zane unlocked it. The windows overlooked the entire property. From here, he could see the cleaned pool deck, the beach umbrellas, the courtyard where the staff lounge lights were still on. He made a call. "Get me someone from facilities. I want to convert the penthouse into a staff resource center. Break area, medical station, maybe a small counseling room. We'll rotate it open by department." He didn't wait for approval. He gave the order and hung up. The next morning, he joined the housekeeping team as they made rounds. Carmen was back, working slower but steadier, now with a second person assigned to her rotation. The laundry room had been cleared of broken machines. New posters showed proper loading procedures and emergency shutoffs. As they passed room 314, the door opened and a guest stepped out, a man in his 60s with a slight limp. "Excuse me," he said, eyes on Carmen. "You were the one who left the extra towels yesterday." She nodded. "Thank you. My wife's recovering from surgery." "That made a difference." Carmen smiled faintly. "Glad it helped." Zane watched the exchange. No drama, just quiet appreciation. Later that day, he called a full staff meeting in the courtyard. Not just janitors or housekeepers, everyone. Even the new hires stood near the edge, unsure of where to be. Zane took the center. I can't undo what's been done, but I can own the part I played. I trusted the wrong people. I assumed systems were enough. I was wrong. No one spoke. But I've seen what each of you does to keep this place alive. You deserve leadership that listens, protects, and invests in you. He paused. Starting this month, we're launching a profit-sharing model for all hourly employees. You drive the experience, so you'll share in the rewards. We're also forming a staff council. 2 elected reps from each department, rotating quarterly. You'll have direct input on operations. A few heads turned. And finally, for every year someone's worked here, they'll receive an additional paid day off moving forward. That starts now. Someone clapped, then another. The sound spread unevenly, awkward at first, then steadier. Zane raised a hand. This isn't charity, it's course correction. After the meeting, he walked through the property one last time before heading back to Miami. Not to leave things behind, just to prepare for what came next. He'd be checking in weekly, not from a boardroom but from the floor. Sometimes with a mop, sometimes with a clipboard. As he passed Ty again near the beach entrance, the younger man gave a small wave. You really think we can keep this going? Zane looked toward the horizon where the ocean met the clearing sky. We won't get everything right, but we'll never stop showing up. Ty nodded once. That's all we needed.